What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to FudgeMuppet. My name is Scott, and today we have a cool new video for you all about a brand new mod that we will be using for our future modded builds. Now, if you've watched any of our modded Skyrim builds, you will be quite familiar with the Aurora Standing Stones of Skyrim mod, which we use to increase the diversity of abilities and playstyles we can use. This mod took all the Standing Stone effects and improved them greatly, granting their users cool passives and unique abilities which were far better than the vanilla game. Now, what has changed is that the author has actually replaced this mod with their newer, updated, overhauled version called Andromeda Standing Stones of Skyrim. Now, before we go on, I want to bring attention to the fact that you can still download the Aurora Standing Stones mod through the old files section of the Andromeda mod page, so if you're playing one of our previous builds who uses the Aurora Standing Stones mod, you can access it here. But now to talk about Andromeda. Andromeda is not a complete change, it's more of an improvement or touch-up. Some standing stones are almost the exact same as Aurora, whereas others have been reconfigured to give different effects, some of which I really like and we will be using in future Skyrim modded builds. Unlockable powers have also been added for each standing stones, much like the Imperious Races mod, which adds unlockable abilities for each of the races. So what I thought I would do is go through each of the standing stones in Skyrim and compare the Aurora Standing Stone changes to the new Andromeda Standing Stone changes. So let's dive in utilizing that sexy alphabetical order, starting with the Apprentice Stone. In boring old vanilla Skyrim, the Apprentice Stone gave you 100% magicka regen at the cost of taking twice the magicka damage. With the Aurora Standing Stone mod, this changed to something far better. Spells cost 15% less magicka across the board, and novice level spells are 100% free to cast, which is very useful, giving you access to unlimited healing, Bound the Sword, Conjure Familiar, Flame, Sparks, Frostbite, Candlelight, Lesser Ward, Oak Flesh, Equilibrium, the works. This is awesome for a mage, allowing you to cast the weakest spells all of the time, so even when you are out of magicka, you still reliably have magic to fall back on, even if weaker, allowing you to always play the mage. The power this stone gives with Aurora is mana cost, which restores your magicka by 20% per second for 45 seconds, which basically means full magicka in 5 seconds, which is pretty crazy and very useful. The caveat, however, is that it randomly teleports you around the place for the duration of the ability, so it can be disorienting, but still totally worth it. But now with the new Andromeda Standing Stones mod, let's have a look how it has changed from Aurora. Thankfully, the passive ability has remained the same, granting free novice spells and a 15% cost reduction for all spells, but now the stone comes with an additional ability that makes spells you cast either 50% more effective or 50% less effective, with the former scenario being more likely. Together with the reduction to spell costs and the free novice spells, this makes for a very powerful stone that fits the Apprentice theme. Sometimes you fuck up with spells, yet sometimes you just perfect it like a magical prodigy that you are. However, you will have to come to terms with the fact that sometimes you will suffer that 50% less effectiveness. However, I feel like that the free novice spells really help, especially considering that they can be 50% more effective now. There is also an unlockable power that you can get with this stone called Vaporize, which allows you to annihilate the attacker once per day, which is cool and all, but has nothing on the passive abilities that this stone offers, and I have to say, mana cost was a lot cooler. So the second stone to discuss is a bit of a meme here at FudgeMuppet, mainly because of how ridiculously overpowered it is in the vanilla game. The Atronach stone has been used by many of our vanilla builds, as it just offers the crazy benefit of 50% spell absorption, meaning 50% of the time a spell or magical effect hits you, it is completely absorbed and does not affect you. The only downside is the minus 50% magicka regen it comes with, but that's easily fixed with some enchanting. The Aurora Standing Stone mod improved a lot of the other standing stones, making it more balanced, so you may actually want to use other stones. However, the Atronach stone is still a very good choice. The Aurora Atronach stone grants you 25% stronger spells and a 75% reduction in spell cost. Now, that already sounds ridiculously overpowered, but the catch is that magicka does not regenerate in combat at all. It is, however, replenished at the end of the battle, meaning that you will have to adjust your playstyle completely, but it yields some interesting new ways of fighting. The ability Blood Price transferred half of your current health to magicka, which is a useful backup in battle considering you cannot regenerate magicka. So how has all this changed? With Andromeda, your magicka no longer regenerates at all, but every death within 50 feet restores magicka equal to 25 times their level, which is an interesting change, along with a second ability that makes spells 25% more effective and cost 50% less magicka when you do have magicka remaining. So this is something we quite like here at FudgeMuppet because it facilitates a playstyle that has big trade-offs, but if done right, can be insanely powerful. These abilities would be very good for a glass cannon DPS type build who would unleash high damage destruction spells, who would then be rewarded with sustained magicka from killing enemies, also using conjuration utilizing summons to kill off enemies nearby, allowing you to regen magicka will be useful. The unlockable power this stone comes with is Devour from Within. This paralyzes a living target, absorbing 50 magicka for 10 seconds, then when the target's magicka depletes, it absorbs health instead. So this power is quite useful when you can't quite kill the enemy in time for that magicka regen from the death, but instead you can paralyze, suck all their magicka, and finish them off. The Lady Stone in vanilla Skyrim was pretty stock standard, giving you a 25% regen boost to stamina and health. The Aurora Standing Stone mod took this boring stone and made it into something truly unique, granting you a lunar familiar that is summoned automatically to fight by your side for 60 seconds when you enter combat, and with the power Eclipse, you can command that lunar familiar to attack a target with a 300% increase in damage and a 50% less damage taken. So, if Spirit Lunar Familiars are your thing, then this was an awesome standing stone for you in Aurora. In Andromeda, the Lunar Familiar remains in the game, and the power Eclipse is the same but now must be unlocked. There is another neat feature called Premonition, which results in a pale light that marks enemies who can kill you with their next strike, slowing them and reducing their armor by 500 points. This is a very cool ability, and overall the Lady Stone just gets an extra ability, so in our opinion it's much better than the Aurora version. The classic vanilla Lord Stone gave you 25% magic resistance and 50 points of armor, which upon the installation of the Aurora Standing Stone mod became much more unique, offering you an effect called Blood of Kings, giving you 30% more attack damage above half health and 30% reduced damage below half health, which makes it an awesome choice for a tank build or a paladin type healer build that can keep their health above 50% quite easily. The power was also neat. Kneel or be knelt slammed nearby foes to the ground, dealing 15 magic damage per second for 10 seconds, but what of the new Andromeda version? Kneel or be knelt is now the unlockable power and changed slightly, dealing 15 magic damage and absorbing 15 stamina for 10 seconds, but the previous ability has been replaced by two new ones. Crown of Autumn means stamina does not regenerate in combat, but power attacks deal 20% more damage and stagger the enemy. But the Old Stone ability allows you to power attack when you are out of stamina, dealing 30% less damage and stagger. So basically this means you can have unlimited power attacks at 90% the effectiveness of before, but then when you actually have stamina to spend, they are 20% more effective and stagger. So this allows you some really neat playstyles. Off the top of my head, you could make a power attack focused warrior build which uses a giant warhammer who uses sideways power attacks to constantly clear crowds in front of him, crushing skulls. A very welcome change from Aurora. The Lover Stone is another reliable classic in vanilla, as it offered a 15% increase of which all skills increase, making it an effective leveling tool for those mixed builds like battle mages or nightblades. However, in Aurora, this stone gave you the ability called Undying Love, which allowed you to cheat death once a day when slain, which was pretty powerful and useful for glass cannon kind of builds that can sometimes be victim to fatal mistakes. You could also use the Lover's Kiss power, which magically bonds a target to you, meaning you can use the Lover's Call power to summon them to your location. In Andromeda, the Lover's Kiss power and the Undying Love ability remains, however there is an extra ability called Secret Admirer, which periodically grants you a random enchanted weapon or piece of armor, which we thought was a nice addition fitting the theme. Might be cool for a bard-like character and very useful for an enchanter trying to learn all the enchantments. In vanilla Skyrim, the Mage Stone gave you a 20% increase to the speed at which your magic skills leveled. However, this had a fresh overhaul in the Aurora mod. The Aurora Mage Stone made spells 10% more effective and scrolls 25% more effective. A nice simple boost for a mage without any drawbacks like the Atronach Stone. The Power Ascension came with it, and that allows you to choose one of 3 random schools of magic that it presents to you when you activate the power. The one you choose makes its spells twice as effective and cost half as much magicka for 90 seconds, which comes with some pretty damn powerful potential. So now the the mage has changed along with the warrior and thief stones, but we will get to them in time. In Andromeda, the mage power remains the same, but in name, now called ultimate power, and it has to be unlocked. The first ability, Power of the Arcane, is slightly different, making spells 10% more effective and scrolls 20% more effective instead of the previous 25% scroll increase. The other ability is Mage's Path, which allows you to learn 2 mage skills of your choice 20% faster, which you can change when you sleep. So now with the Andromeda mod, you have the mix of the Aurora mod and the classic vanilla stone effects, but nerfed slightly to help balance it out, which is neat. The Ritual Stone was the flashiest of all the vanilla stones, allowing you to reanimate all the dead around you, giving you an army of vile undead, the ultimate necromancer power fantasy. Aurora one-ups vanilla, making the ability even cooler in my opinion. In Aurora, the Ritual Stone continually reanimates nearby corpses in combat, making them fight for you, but only until you use a weapon or cast a hostile spell. So you could just walk onto the battlefield like a boss and watch your 3 undead warriors kill their enemies, and as each die, they are reanimated and added to your growing army. It's pretty neat. The power is called Life Swap, and it does exactly as it says. It swaps your health percentage with the health of your target, allowing you to turn the tide of battle, with you on the brink of death, giving your full health opponent bugger all health so you can finish them off. This has changed in Andromeda, so there is Mara's Mercy and Mara's Tears, which do the following. When you do approach a violently slain corpse, you gather its memories, summoning it as a vengeful spirit in your next battle, and then you can also periodically relive the death of an ally or enemy you gathered the memories of before, creating a corpse. Then there is the Power Requiem, which makes vengeful spirits gain 100 points of health and move as well as attack 50% faster for 45 seconds. Now, while this is cool and similar, in all honesty, this is one of the Standing Stone changes that we don't like much, and we'd much rather the Aurora Standing Stone version, which, don't forget, you can still access on the Nexus in the old files section of the Andromeda mod page. Now let's talk about the Serpents Stone, which in vanilla Skyrim allowed you to paralyze the target for 5 seconds along with delivering 25 poison damage. In Aurora, this was changed to a rather interesting ability called Star Curse, which made it so upon entering combat, you and everybody nearby instantly loses all of their magicka and stamina, which can lead to some interesting playstyles, perhaps one that utilizes scrolls, potions, and poisons, circumventing your loss of magicka and stamina, but still screwing over your enemies. The Power Serpent's Kiss silently paralyzes a target that is not detecting you for 10 seconds, poisoning it for 40% of their current health, very similar to the trademark power of the Serpents Stone in Elder Scrolls. Andromeda has changed this for the better in our opinion, making a very interesting stone to work with, perhaps a Nightblade character, but here, check it out. The ability Slither makes sneaking movement 25% faster, but it costs 10 magicka per second, and there is the Striking Cobra ability, which if you have magicka remaining, makes sneaking and sneak attacks 40% more effective, but projectile sneak attacks are only 20% more effective. However, this is a really cool and interesting bonus and trade-off, and there is also the ability Star Curse, which steals all the target's magicka and stamina and prevents them from regenerating for 20 seconds. A difficult stone to work with, but truly powerful if you pull it all off. The Shadow Stone was one that was pretty straightforward in vanilla, allowing you to become invisible for 60 seconds once per day. However, this became pretty redundant and boring when you can easily use the invisibility spell in the later game. Now, in my opinion, they did a heaps better job in the Aurora Standing Stone mod, granting you an ability called Blur, which increases your movement speed by 20% while in combat, and it came with an awesome power called Shadow Step, which teleported you behind a target, perfect for a stealthy dagger assassin. And when you are discovered, Blur gives you an awesome movement speed advantage, allowing you to fulfill that super quick ninja assassin fantasy. When I first looked at Andromeda, I was begging that they kept the Shadow Stone very similar, and thank God they did. You will still be able to enjoy the 20% movement speed in combat, and you can unlock the Shadow Step power, which means you can expend 50 points of stamina to dash to a target within 75 feet. It also comes with a new ability, making sneaking and sneak attacks 20% more effective when near a wall or obstacle. So overall, we're very happy with this awesome stone. Now, the Steed Stone is a very popular stone among many Skyrim players, mainly the hoarding variety, because in vanilla, the Steed Stone granted plus 100 carry weight, and the armor you have equipped costs nothing, and there is no movement penalty. In Aurora, they took this to the next level. The Aurora version of the Steed Stone granted you a passive ability called Explorer, which increased your movement speed by 40% when outside of combat, and random nearby landmarks are added to the map, allowing you to cross country easily. And the power Bag of Holding is a hoarder's wet dream, giving you access to an extra dimensional storage space to stash or retrieve items from. With Andromeda, you now have to unlock that wet dream, but it is still there as a power. And with the abilities, you get 50 extra carry weight, nearby landmarks are still added to the map, and you still get that 40% movement speed bonus outside of combat, but this time along with 50% stamina regen. So overall, this stone is an enhancement which we approve of, allowing you to play that explorer, messenger, tracker, or hunter kind of build. In old vanilla Skyrim, the Thief Stone simply granted you 20% bonus to the rate at which you learn thief-related skills like sneak and lockpicking, but with the installation of the Aurora Standing Stones of Skyrim mod, your attacks deal 300% more damage against targets with 25% or less health remaining, which is very useful for finishing off those powerful bosses and enemies. The power was Blood Money, which let you bet 15 gold on the death of a target within 18 seconds. If successful, it pays out gold equal to 50% of its current health. Now along comes the new Andromeda Standing Stone mod, which once again has changed it and made it more like its vanilla roots. You can learn 2 thief skills 20% faster, the choice of which can be made when you sleep. Your sneaking and sneak attacks are 10% more effective, and there is an unlockable power which one day you can use to find more loot on enemies that you kill within 30 seconds. Especially violent kills yield more loot, so it's nice for a build like our bandit build. The Andromeda change is pretty decent, but I will be honest, I do miss that old 300% damage bonus for enemies under 25% health. However, overall, I do think this new Andromeda version is actually more functional. Let's talk the Tower Stone of vanilla Skyrim. With no mods, it allowed you to unlock an expert or lower lock instantly once per day. While useful, this had the opportunity cost of all of the other good stones, but with Aurora, it sweetens the deal even more, making it a very valid choice. The Tower Key ability allows you to open all locks up to an adept level, and then once a day, you can unlock something of an expert level. Then in comes the power called the Dungeon, which traps your target in a mental maze, causing them to be mindless but untouchable for 25 seconds. So with Andromeda, the Standing Stone remains exactly the same, but with one added bonus ability called Royal Treasury. Royal Treasury spawns a quest that leads you to a hidden cache in Skyrim containing fabulous loot. Looting this cache gives you a quest for the next one. So there isn't a lot to say about this one, it's just like the Aurora version, but better. The Warrior Stone of Skyrim was much like the Mage and Thief Stones, except it allowed you to learn warrior-related skills 20% faster. Instead, with Aurora, it granted you the ability called Ysmir's Scales, so when you enter combat, incoming damage is reduced by 75% for 10 seconds. The power it came with was Star of the West, which inverts your current health, stamina, and magicka percentages. Unfortunately, Andromeda changed this one for the worse in my opinion. Not that the new one is bad, it's just that I miss Ysmir's Scales a lot. So you have the Warrior's Path, allowing you to pick 2 warrior skills to increase 20% faster, sleep to pick, same deal as the Mage and Thief Stones in the Andromeda mod. Ysmir's Scales are replaced with Fierce Spirit, granting 15% more power attack damage, and ranged weapons do up to 15% more damage based on distance. It's decent, but not as fun as taking a quarter damage for 10 seconds, allowing you to be reckless and barrel through with high damage and high risk tactics. The Power Star of the West has been altered to refill health and stamina and fortify them by the amount restored for 30 seconds. I will concede, this one is a better version of the power, bringing you from the brink of death to dominating the battlefield. So that, ladies and gentlemen, are all the new changes that the Andromeda Unique Standing Stones of Skyrim mod has brought. Overall, here at FudgeMuppet, we think this new mod is much better, bar a few examples, and we are keen to use this in our new builds, including our upcoming one. NIC Ion is an awesome modder, and we really appreciate all the work he has done to make Skyrim so great. Get over onto the Nexus and show some appreciation and love. My name is Scott from FudgeMuppet. I hope you enjoy the mod, and I will be back to nerd out with you again next time.